We are gonna continue Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 6, Dhyan Yoga, text 30. Yomam pashyati sarvatra,
यो मां पश्यति सर्वत्र
sarvam cha mayi pashyati,
सर्वं च मयि पश्यति
tasyaham na pranashyami,
तस्याहं न प्रणश्यामि
san cha me na pranashyate.
स च मे न प्रणश्यति. I'll read.
Please.
Translation. For one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I'm never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. A person in Krishna consciousness certainly sees Lord Krishna everywhere and he sees everything in Krishna. Such a person may appear to see all separate manifestations of the material nature, but in each and every instance he is conscious of Krishna, knowing that everything is a manifestation of Krishna's energy. Nothing can exist without Krishna, and Krishna is the Lord of everything. This is the basic principle of Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is the development of love of Krishna, a position transcendental even to material liberation. At this stage of Krishna consciousness, beyond self realization, the devotee becomes one with Krishna in the sense that Krishna becomes everything for the devotee, and the devotee becomes full in loving Krishna. An intimate relationship between the Lord and the devotee then exists. In that stage, the living entity can never be annihilated, nor is the personality of Godhead ever out of the sight of the devotee. To merge in Krishna is spiritual annihilation. A devotee takes no such risk. It is stated in the Brahma Samhita. Preman jana churita bhakti vilochanena santa sadaiva hrideshu vilokayanti यम श्याम सुंदरम अचिंत्य गुण स्वरूपम गोविंदम आदि पुरुषम तम अहम भजामि. I worship the primeval Lord Govinda, who is always seen by the devotee whose eyes are anointed with the pulp of love. He is seen in his eternal form of Shama Sundara, situated within the heart of the devotee. At this stage, Lord Krishna never disappears from the sight of the devotee, nor does the devotee ever lose sight of the Lord. In the case of a yogi who sees the Lord as Paramatma within the heart, the same applies. Such a yogi turns into a pure devotee and cannot bear to live for a moment without seeing the Lord within himself.
So then Krishna is going on to say, when the living entity has developed love for Krishna, he's engaging in devotional service, is fixing his mind on Krishna, and now his mind is fixed on Krishna. He's revived his love for Krishna. Love for Krishna is there in each and everyone's heart. Each of us has love for Krishna. Each of us has eternal loving relationship with Krishna. Just as we have our loving relationships in the material world, we have a loving relationship with Krishna. So our relationships in the material world sometimes may be loving and sometimes may be a cause of suffering. But our relationship with Krishna is completely on the spiritual level. It's not like a material relationship. It's the cause of highest bliss, gives one immense, immense happiness. And then at that stage, because the love is already revived, then the devotee is always thinking of Krishna. And Krishna is always thinking of the devotee. When we love someone, we are always thinking of them. We may plan our day in such a way also, and, and at the same time, we are thinking of our beloved. Whatever activity we are doing, we are thinking, oh, my beloved, he or she um, is gonna like it if I do this, or let me do that, you know. So this is the relationship between Krishna and the devotee. There's a very intimate relationship. When 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 the Rasa Muni, he got angry at Ambarish Maharaj for no fault and created the demon to kill Ambarish Maharaj. Then Krishna sent the Sudarshan Chakra to kill the Rasa Muni. And the Rasa Muni ran everywhere. He ran to the heavens. He went to Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva to help him get rid of the Sudarshan Chakra. He also went up to Vaikuntha, told Krishna, please, your Sudarshan Chakra is going to kill me. Please, please stop it. And Krishna said, I'm sorry, I can't. You offended my devotee. This is not in my power to stop the Sudarshan Chakra. The Rasamuni is saying that Sudarshan Chakra is going to kill me. Don't you have a heart? And Krishna says, no, I, I don't have my heart. My heart is with the devotees. My heart is with my devotees. The devotee is in my heart. Just as the devotee is always thinking of me, I'm always thinking of my devotee. This is what um, Krishna says, So this loving relationship, each of us has this loving relationship with Krishna. And we can revive this relationship by engaging in devotional service. So this is a point of liberation, the real liberation, where the living entity is understood. I'm not the body, I'm the soul, I'm eternal part and parcel of Krishna. And so he's acting in that consciousness. So that's why I said in that stage, the living entity can never be annihilated because he's completely understood. I'm not the body. I'm spirit, soul, part and parcel of Krishna. Some of us may think that liberation, mukti, means becoming one with God, going into the existence of God, merging into the effulgence of God. But a devotee never wants that. The devotee always wants to have this loving relationship with Krishna. Because even if he enters the Brahmajyoti, there's no Krishna there. There's no loving relationship with Krishna. There are no devotees there. And how long can the living entity live without doing anything? So that's not a permanent situation. After some time, the living entity will come back to the material world from that platform unless he gets the association of a devotee, just like Sukadev Goswami or the four Kumaras. They were liberated personalities. Sukadev Goswami heard Bhagavatam and he became a pure devotee. He got attracted to Bhagavatam. And the four Kumaras, they were Brahmavadis, understanding the Lord to be the supreme Brahman. But they smelt the tulsi leaves coming from the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu and they became pure devotees. So Lord Brahma is saying can how can one see Krishna everywhere? When one has developed its love for Krishna, to anoint the eyes with the salve of love. We put makeup in our eyes, and the devotee puts the salve of love in his eyes, and he sees Krishna everywhere. Prabhupada would give the example that a mother, she sees her child's shoes, she'll immediately remember her child. She won't just see this as some shoe. She'll immediately see it, who belongs to my son. So this is how the devotee, wherever he looks, he remembers Krishna. So even the yogi who has realized the Paramatma in the heart, Prabhupada is saying that he will also become a pure devotee because he's already come to the Paramatma realization. He's seeing the Lord, and as he continues with his practice, he will also he will also become a pure devotee. Is that okay? So it's a loving relationship between the living entity and Krishna. That it's as we see, some we may have some loving relationship in the material world, but then those are temporary, whereas our relationship with Krishna is eternal, never ends, and will give us the highest bliss. There's no suffering in this, in our relationship with Krishna, only happiness. Sarvabhuta sthitam yo mam
Sarvabhuta Stitam Yo Mam
bhajati ekatvam asthita
Bhajati Ekatvam Ashtita
sarvatha vartamanopi
Sarvata Vartamanopi
स योगी मयि वर्तते.
Sayogi Mai Vartate. Translation: such a yogi who engages in the worshipful service of the Super Soul, knowing that I and the Super Soul are one, remains always in me in all circumstances. A yogi who is practicing meditation on the Super Soul sees within himself the plenary portion of Krishna as Vishnu with four hands holding conch shell, wheel, club, and lotus flower. The yogi should know that Vishnu is not different from Krishna. Krishna, in this form of Super Soul, is situated in everyone's heart. Furthermore, there is no difference between the innumerable super souls present in the innumerable hearts of living entities, nor is there a difference between a Krishna conscious person always engaged in the transcendental loving service of Krishna and a perfect yogi engaged in meditation of the super soul. The yogi in Krishna consciousness, even though he may be engaged in various activities while in material existence, remains always situated in Krishna. This is confirmed in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu of Srila Rupa Goswami. Nikhilasva api avasthasu jivan mukta sa uchyate. A devotee of the Lord, always acting in Krishna consciousness, is automatically liberated. In the Narada Pancharata, this is confirmed in this way. Dik kaladi annavachine Krishne cheto vidhaya cha tanmayo bhavati spiram jivo brahmani yojayet. By concentrating one's attention on the transcendental form of Krishna, who is all pervading and beyond time and space, one becomes absorbed in thinking of Krishna and then attains the happy state of transcendental association with him. Krishna consciousness is the highest stage of trance in yoga practice. This very understanding that Krishna is present as Paramatma in everyone's heart makes the yogi faultless. The Vedas Gopala Tapani Upanishad confirm this inconceivable potency of the Lord as follows. Eko pi san bahuda yo vabhati. Although the Lord is one, he is present in innumerable hearts as many. Similarly, in Smriti Shastra, it is said, Eka evo para Vishnu sarva vyapina samshaya aishvaryat rupam ekam cha suryavat bahudyate. Vishnu is one, and yet he is certainly all pervading. By his inconceivable potency, in spite of his one form, he is present everywhere as the sun appears in many places at once.
So Prabhupada is helping us understand that the yogi who is seeing the Paramatma in the heart, the real yogi, because the goal of yoga is samadhi, always seeing the Lord in heart, not just not imagining any object of meditation or some light or some void or nothing. No, but actually seeing the form of Paramatma. And what's the form of Paramatma here? Lord, here Srila Prabhupada is saying is the Vishnu form, four hands. Each of the hands is holding this conch shell wheel, the chakra, that's the wheel chakra. Club is the mace and the lotus flower. So this is the Paramatma, the super soul in our heart. This, Paramatma is a feature of Krishna, it's the same. Says Krishna as the Paramatma is accompanying us, each and every one of us in this material world. So Prabhupada is saying a pure devotee or a yogi who's seeing the Paramatma in the heart, they're in the same position. There's no difference. Because after all, they're fixing their minds on Krishna. The pure devotee, although he's doing various activities, he's not just sitting in one place. He's doing many activities, but all his activities are for the pleasure of Krishna. His mind is fixed on Krishna. He loves Krishna. So everything he does is thinking, how can I please Krishna more and more? So Srila Rupa Goswami is saying, a pure devotee who's always thinking of Krishna, who's acting in Krishna consciousness, he's liberated. He's not thinking, I'm the body, I'm gonna do this, and so I will get this. No, he's understanding, oh, Krishna is my supreme worshipable Lord. And he's pleasing Krishna with every of his action, word, with his thought. And here the Narad Pancharatra Srila Prabhupada is quoting this, that when one is always thinking of Krishna, how? On Krishna's transcendental form. Krishna's transcendental form, the two-armed form, with a flute, two lotus eyes, and he has a beautiful smile. He has a peacock feather on his head. By fixing our attention on Krishna, always thinking of Krishna, one can actually be associated with Krishna, have personal association, be with Krishna. So here Prabhupada is saying the highest stage of trance in yoga practice is Krishna consciousness, because the yogi stops at samadhi, where he's always thinking of Krishna. But the devotee, he fixes his mind on Krishna and he's doing all these activities. What happens is a yogi, he's continuously looking at the Paramatma in the heart, but then there is no real reciprocation. There's no loving in the sense, yes, the yogi is seeing the Paramatma, Paramatma is seeing the yogi, but the pure devotee, yes, he's seeing Krishna and he's doing so many activities. He's in that relationship. When we are in a relationship with someone, there's so many things we do, the relationship becomes sweeter, like that. So the pure devotee is already a yogi because his mind is fixed on Krishna, and even more because he's actually situated in that relationship. So the Paramatma, he is in everyone's heart, but he is one, just like the sun. Sun is here in Panama or in Spain. We can't say the sun is a Spanish sun or a Panamanian sun or an Indian sun. Oh, sun is for everyone. Similarly, Paramatma, he's one. Although he's there in everyone's heart, he's one. He's everyone's Paramatma. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Atmaupamyena sarvatra
Atmaupamyena sarvatra
samam pashyati soarjuna
samam paschati yo Arjuna.
sukham va yadi va dukham
Sukham va yadi va dukham
sa yogi paramo mataha.
sa yogi paramo mata. Translation: He is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and their distress, O Arjuna. One who is in Krishna conscious is a perfect yogi. He is aware of everyone's happiness and distress by dint of his own personal experience. The cause of the distress of a living entity is forgetfulness of his relationship with God, and the cause of happiness is knowing Krishna to be the supreme enjoyer of all the activities of the human being, the proprietor of all lands and planets, and the sincerest friend of all living entities. The perfect yogi knows that the living being, who is conditioned by the modes of material nature, is subjected to the threefold material miseries due to forgetfulness of his relationship with Krishna. And because one in Krishna consciousness is happy, he tries to distribute the knowledge of Krishna everywhere. Since the perfect yogi tries to broadcast the importance of becoming Krishna conscious, he is the best philanthropist in the world, and he is the dearest servitor of the Lord. Nacha tasman manusya chesu kaschin me priyatritama. In other words, the devotee of the Lord always looks to the welfare of all living entities, and in this way, he is factually the friend of everyone. He is the best yogi because he does not desire perfection in yoga for his personal benefit, but tries for others also. He does not envy his fellow living entities. Here is a contrast between a pure devotee of the Lord and a yogi interested only in his personal elevation. The yogi who has withdrawn to a secluded place in order to meditate perfectly may not be as perfect as the devotee who is trying his best to turn every man towards Krishna consciousness.
Krishna is saying who is a better yogi? Because the yogi, of course, he's a great personality. He's seeing the Paramatma in the heart. It's not an easy thing. He's done so much practice, so much meditation, so much austerity, penance. He's realizing the Paramatma in the heart. Now, the devotee, well, what he's doing is in his relationship with Krishna. And he understands that the suffering of the living entity, the root cause, we may say, I'm suffering because um, this thing happened. I'm suffering because we have so many reasons. Yeah, it's too hot or too sunny or too rainy or whatever. The sun said this or this one. But the root cause is because we have forgotten our relationship with Krishna. That is that's the root cause of our suffering. And a pure devotee, he understands that he was suffering before, and now because he is in his relationship with Krishna, he's completely happy. He wants everyone else also to be happy. He's understood, without coming to the relationship with Krishna, we cannot be happy. And so he's trying his best to tell others of this. And that's why Prabhupada is saying he's the best philanthropist. He's the best friend of all living entities. He understands that one can be truly happy if one has revived his relationship with Krishna, understanding that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, Supreme Controller, the best friend of every living entity. Because the devotee knows that we are suffering by this. The threefold miseries. Threefold miseries are the miseries caused by our own body and mind. Miseries caused to us by other living entities. Miseries caused by natural calamities like pandemics or, the earthquakes or something. So, but the pure devotee understands that we are feeling this misery, feeling the pain. We are suffering because of this misery. The root cause is because we have forgotten our relationship with Krishna. And because the pure devotee is experiencing so much happiness, and he wants everyone else to be happy. He wants everyone to experience this happiness. So he wants everyone to also revive their relationship with Krishna. And that's why he's called the best philanthropist and a dear servant of Krishna. Krishna is saying, Nacha tasman manishyesu kaschin me priya kritama. Krishna says, one who's giving, no one is more dearer to me than him. Because he's doing the work of Krishna. Krishna wants each of us to come back to him. Krishna wants each of us to revive our relationship with him, to go back home, back to the spiritual world. And the pure devotee is helping Krishna do that. And so that's why he's the best servitor of Krishna. So if a comparison is made, the yogi, yes, he's very qualified, he's a great personality, but it's limited because he's doing his yoga practice, he's revived his relationship with the Paramatma, but he's not giving this knowledge to others. He's not helping others also to get free from suffering. He's doing it for himself. But the pure devotee, he wants everyone to be happy. And so he is giving Krishna consciousness to everyone. This is what the position of the pure devotee is. And devotional service begins by hearing and chanting. Hearing and chanting. So, Arjuna Vachan.
Arjuna Uvacha.
Yo yam yogas tvaya prokta
Yayam yogastva prokta.
samyena madhusudana
Samyena madhusudana.
ete etasyaham na pashyami
Etasyaham na pashyami.
chanchalatvat sthitim stiram.
Chanchalatvat stitim stiram. Translation. Arjuna said, O Madhusudana, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady. The system of mysticism described by Lord Krishna to Arjuna, beginning with the words Shukau Deshe and ending with Yogi Parama, is here being rejected by Arjuna out of feeling of inability. It is not possible for an ordinary man to leave home and go to a secluded place in the mountains or jungles to practice yoga in the age of Kali. The present age is characterized by a bitter struggle for a life of short duration. People are not serious about self realization, even by simple practical means, and what to speak of this difficult yoga system, which regulates the mode of living, the manner of sitting, selection of place, and detachment of the mind from material engagements. As a practical man, Arjuna thought it was impossible to follow the system of yoga, even though he was favorably endowed in many ways. He belonged to the royal family and was highly elevated in terms of numerous qualities. He was a great warrior, he had great longevity, and above all, he was the most intimate friend of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 5,000 years ago, Arjuna had much better facilities than we do now, yet he refused to accept the system of yoga. In fact, we do not find any record in history of his practicing it at any time. Therefore, the system must be considered generally impossible in this age of Kali. Of course, it may be possible for some very few rare men, but for the people in general, it is an impossible proposal. If this were so 5,000 years ago, then what of the present day? Those who are imitating this yoga system in different so called schools and societies, although complacent, are certainly wasting their time. They are completely in ignorance of the desired goal.
So Krishna was saying the process of Dhyan Yoga. No? He said you go to the forest, you get a asan, neither too high nor too low, cover it with kushagrass, deer skin. Then you control your breathing. In this way, you control your mind. So Arjuna is saying, oh, that's impractical. I cannot do it. Why? Because the mind is restless and unsteady. Prabhupada is saying, Arjuna, great personality. Compared to us, who are we compared to Arjuna? Arjuna, great personality, so much control of senses and mind he had. He could even shoot the arrows with such precision, means we can see how much concentration, how much control. He is saying he cannot do this meditation process. That also he was in Dwapara Yuga, where already, because it was a better age than Kali Yuga, already, they have better facility. So he is saying, no way, I can't do this process of Dhyan Yoga, of this meditation. He never practiced it. He never did this difficult yoga system for self-realization. He was a great personality. Very good qualifications. He had much better facilities to practice this yoga than we do. But he is saying it's impossible. He himself outrightly is telling Krishna, what you're saying is impractical because the mind is restless and unsteady. It's not possible. So we in Kali Yuga, our minds are even more restless, more unsteady. So it's even more impractical for us in this age of Kali. Krishna is, now one may say if it's impractical, why is Krishna putting it in Bhagavad Gita? Well, if some people who are interested can follow it, but also to show us that it's not an easy path. If we are actually thinking we are going to get perfection by following this path in Kali Yuga, it's not easy for the average person. There may be rare, great souls who are able to do it, but not the common man. And that's the reason Lord Chaitanya gave us the easy system of yoga in this Kali Yuga, Sankirtan Yoga, chanting the holy names of the Lord. That can easily give us perfection in this age of Kali. And the Shastras say there is no other way, no other way, no other way than chanting the holy name of, of Lord Hari. If we at all want spiritual perfection, we at all want that real liberation. Are there any questions or comments?
No.
Okay. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna,
Chanchalam hi mana Krishna,
pramati balavadridam,
pramati balavathidam,
tasyaham nigraham manye,
tasyaham nigraham manye,
vayor iva sudushkaram.
ayor iva sudushkaram. Translation. The mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna, and to subdue it, I think it is more difficult than controlling the wind. The mind is so strong and obstinate that it sometimes overcomes the intelligence, although the mind is supposed to be subservient to the intelligence. For a man in the practical world, one has to fight so many opposing elements. It is certainly very difficult to control the mind. Artificially, one may establish a mental equilibrium towards both friend and enemy, but ultimately no worldly man can do so. For this is more difficult than controlling the raging wind. In the Vedic literature, Tatha Upanishad, it is said, Atmanam Rathinam Vidhi, Sariram Ratham Ivacha, Buddhim tu Saratham Vidhi, Mana Pragraham Ivacha. Indriyani Hayan Ahur, Vishyam Teshu Gokaran, Atmendriya Mano Yuktam, Bhoktati Ahur Manishana. The individual is the passenger in the car of the material body, and intelligence is the driver.
Mind is the driving instrument and the senses are the horses. The self is thus the enjoyer or sufferer in the association of the mind and senses. So it is understood by great thinkers in the intelligence is supposed to direct the mind, but the mind is so strong and obstinate that it often overcomes even one's own intelligence, as an acute infection may surpass the efficacy of medicine. Such a strong mind is supposed to be controlled by the practice of yoga, but such practice is never practical for a worldly person like Arjuna. And what can we say of modern man? The, the simile used here is inappropriate. One cannot capture the
Appropriate.
blowing
The
wind.
simile used here is appropriate, not inappropriate.
Sorry, sorry. The simile used here is appropriate. One cannot capture the blowing wind. And it is even more difficult to capture the turbulent mind. The easiest way to control the mind, as suggested by Lord Chaitanya, is chanting Hare Krishna, the great mantra for deliverance, in all humility. The method prescribed is Savai Manha Krishna Padar Vindayo. One must engage one's mind fully in Krishna. Only then will there remain no other engagements to agitate the mind.
Thank you. So, Tony, you wanted to share something with us?
Hello. Yes,
Yes,
I
please.
wanted to share yesterday only because I read this. Yani I heard chapter 6 fully, and you were also speaking. In this chapter, no, uh, Arjun asks only two questions. He asks in last, भाई मन इतना चंचल है, कैसे इसको रोकना? मैं वायु की बाती बहुत कठिन है, ठीक है। और लास्ट में वो बोलता है कि अगर योग पे कोई चला, श्रद्धा रख के चला ये मार्ग में, अगर बाय चांस समझो उससे छूट गया या उसका, फिर उसका क्या होगा? वो फिर उसका भी भगवान बोलते हैं, कृष्ण भगवान बोलते हैं कि उसका नया दूसरा जन्म होगा और जितना उसने ज्ञान पकड़ा है वहां से स्टार्ट होगा, कोई नुकसान नहीं है, ठीक है। अभी हेलो,
हाँ, यस प्लीज। हाँ,
मेरा कहने का मतलब था कि भगवान ने ये पूरे 6 अध्याय में हमको रास्ता बताया है भगवान से कैसे मिलने का। अध्याय 2 में तो उसने आत्मा का बताया, वो हमको ज्ञान है हम क्या है, लेकिन इसमें है ना हम सबको फॉलो करना ही पड़ेगा। यानी जो मन में है ना, मन में किसके साथ राग द्वेष है ना, सब निकालना पड़ेगा। और वो जो योगी बोलते हैं ना कि मिट्टी पत्थर को एक ही, ये सब हमारी फीलिंग्स को कंट्रोल करना पड़ेगा हमको, है ना। मन है जितना भी चंचल है ना, उसको भगवान की ओर मोड़ना ही पड़ेगा। उसका भी भगवान ने बोला है, ये मैं मानता हूँ कि मन चंचल है, लेकिन अभ्यास से करते करते, जैसे पानी गिरते गिरते पत्थर पे असर करता है ना, वैसे हम लोग अभ्यास करते करते वो उसकी ग्रिप आ जाएगी। आज नहीं तो कल इजी लगेगा वो। लेकिन 6 अध्याय में हमको मन में जो चेंजेस करना ही होगा, योगी बनना ही पड़ेगा। यानी क्या भी करके जो द्वेष है ना, हेट्रेट, ये वो सब निकालनी पड़ेगी। कोई मान करे अपमान करे, यू हैव टू रिमेन साइलेंट। बहुत अच्छी क्वालिटीज बताई है। और फिर उसमें वो भी बताया था कि मेडिटेशन होता है ना, मेडिटेशन से ही मन शांत होता है। मन यानी समाधि की स्थिति में आता है। समाधि की स्थिति में आने के, जैसे वो दीपक है ना, जहाँ विंड वगैरह नहीं होता है ना, शांत रहता है ना, दीपक की जो लो होती है ना, जहाँ विंडी नहीं होता है ना, तो एकदम, तो बोलता है तुम भी ऐसे प्रैक्टिस करो ना, तुम भी वो कनेक्शन भगवान के साथ ऐसा हो जाता है, योगी लोग का कनेक्शन ऐसा हो जाता है। तो यानी शुक्राना कृष्ण भगवान का, अपन रास्ता भी बताया कैसे भगवान के यहाँ पहुंचने का है, हमको फॉलो करना है। बस ये छोटा शेयर करने का था।
थैंक यू सो मच।
ओके,
थैंक यू। या, तो सही बोला कि वी हैव टू कंट्रोल द माइंड, We have to control 6th chapter mein. Krishna is saying, Aap bola abhyas, that's right, practice and detachment, Krishna is going to say, because Arjuna is saying to control the mind is very difficult. And here, and Krishna is saying practice, constant practice and detachment. But constant practice and detachment of what? What do we have to practice? How? How can we control? So Lord Chaitanya is saying, the easiest way to control the mind is chanting Hare Krishna, the great mantra for deliverance in all humility. By chanting the Hare Krishna, because this is the Yuga Dharma given to us. All the Shastras, they are saying to us that we have to chant the holy name. So we hear Krishna's instructions in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is saying, you engage your mind in thinking of me. But how can we do it? So Krishna is saying, you practice. Abhyas, you do. And then what do we have to practice? Practice hearing and chanting. Constantly hearing and chanting. And then one's mind will be engaged in Krishna's in Krishna. So this is the process. The process is made easy for us because otherwise it is difficult for us to control the mind. But if we hear about Krishna, we chant Krishna's names, then it becomes easy. And it needs, of course, practice. Practice. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. Very, very nice explanation.
Thank you.
Thank you. So reading on
Hare
35.
Krishna.
Yes. Yes. Hare Krishna.
Afterwards, I have one question.
Yes.
Yeah, I have one question. I will ask afterwards. Afterwards, if you have time, right?
Okay.
After.
So we'll try to finish a little earlier then. Let's
Okay.
read this then. Okay. Shri Bhagwan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavana Uvacha
Ashamshayam Mahabaho.
Ashamshayam Mahabaho
Manodurnigraham Chalam.
Mano Durnigraham Chalam
Abhyasena tu Kaunteya.
Abhyasena tu Kaunteya
Vairagena Chagrayate.
Vairagyena cha grahate. Translation. Lord Sri Krishna said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice by detachment. The difficulty of controlling the obstinate mind is, as expressed by Arjuna, is accepted by the personality of Godhead. But at the same time, he suggests that by practice and detachment, it is possible. What is that practice? In the present age, no one can observe the strict rules and regulations of placing oneself in a sacred place, focusing the mind on the super soul, restraining the senses and mind, observing celibacy, remaining alone, etc. By the practice of Krishna consciousness, however, one engages in 9 types of devotional service to the Lord. The first and foremost of such devotional engagement is hearing about Krishna. This is a very powerful transcendental method for purging the mind of all misgivings. The more one hears about Krishna, the more one becomes enlightened and detached from everything that draws the mind away from Krishna. By detaching the mind from activities not devoted to the Lord, one can very easily learn Vairagya. Vairagya means detachment from matter and engagement of the mind in spirit. Impersonal spiritual detachment is more difficult than attaching the mind to activities of Krishna. This is practical because by hearing about Krishna, one becomes automatically attached to the Supreme Spirit. This attachment is called Pareshanubhava, spiritual satisfaction. It is just like feeling of satisfaction a hungry man has for every morsel of food he eats. The more one The more one eats while hungry, the more one feels satisfaction and strength. Similarly, by discharge of devotional service, one feels transcendental satisfaction as the mind becomes detached from the material objective. It is something like curing a disease by expert treatment and appropriate diet. Hearing of the transcendental activities of Lord Krishna is therefore expert treatment for the mad mind, and eating the foodstuff offered to Krishna is the appropriate diet for the suffering patient. This treatment is a process.
Haribo? This treatment is the process of Krishna consciousness. So yeah, so Arjuna said, I can't do it. Difficult. So then Krishna is saying, yeah, it's difficult, of course. Krishna is saying, no, 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 it's not. It's not saying, no, it's not difficult. He's saying, yes, it's difficult, but possible, not impossible, by suitable practice and detachment. So what is the practice, as we just said? Because it's difficult for us to go to the forest, get an asana, and control the breathing. We can't do that. We are Kalyug people. So a process given to this age, to us, hearing about Krishna, Srila Prabhupada is saying, hear. When we are hearing about Krishna, the mind automatically gives up all misgivings, as we were saying, the rag, dvesh, which is there in the mind. Automatically, gradually, they'll go away when we hear about Krishna from Bhagavad Gita, from Srimad Bhagavatam, because these are transcendental subject matters. The more we hear about Krishna, the more we will get the real knowledge, the more we get detached from the material world. The more we are detached from the material world, the more the mind becomes calm, unagitated. So hearing, Prabhupada is giving so much importance here by hearing. So we need to hear and chant. The more we hear, the more we chant, the more we get attached to Krishna, the more our heart gets cleaned, the more knowledge we get, the more we get detached from the material world. And the more happy we feel. We feel this transcendental bliss, this transcendental satisfaction. So Srila Prabhupada is saying it's something like curing a disease, that you take the medicine and the diet. The medicine, hearing about Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Hearing from Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. Constantly hearing and chanting the holy name. And eating Krishna Prasad. This is the process of Krishna consciousness. And we will be able to automatically control the mind, because the mind will be engaged in Krishna. The mind will get attached to Krishna. So automatically it will be detached from the material world. So it gets automatically controlled. So we need to constantly hear and chant. So we're going to stop here for today. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening and joining in. Srila Prabhupada ki